Welcome to VU Academy. Let's study about the human respiratory system. The human respiratory system is responsible for gaseous exchange, delivering oxygen to the human body and removing the carbon dioxide. Normally, we breathe about 16,000 to 24,000 times a day with exchange of 11,000 liters of air with the atmosphere. So, in this process, the oxygen from the atmospheric air is delivered to the human body and which is then utilized by the tissues. And then the carbon dioxide which is produced by the human body is exported to the lungs. Now, let's see about the anatomy and the physiology of the human respiratory system. Here you all can see that it is start from the nose and this is the nasal cavity. This is pharynx. This part is called as larynx and this is the trachea. This trachea is ended up with the bronchus. There are two bronchus as the right and the left bronchus. These bronchus further divide into bronchioles. So at the terminal part of the bronchioles, there are alveoli. Then this respiratory tract is divided into two parts as the upper respiratory tract and the lower respiratory tract. This upper respiratory tract is composed with the nasal cavity, pharynx and with the larynx. Then the lower respiratory tract is consisting with the trachea, primary bronchi and with the lungs. Let's see the first part of the upper respiratory tract. So that is the nose. The nose is comprised with the nasal cavity and the nasal concave and with the nasal vestibules. This nasal cavity is separated from the oral cavity by the palates from the bony hard palates and with the muscular soft palate. And then this nasal concave has three parts as the superior nasal concave, middle nasal concave and the inferior nasal concave which help for the filtering of the moisture and the heat. Then the nasal vestibules. These nasal vestibules has the hairs for the filtering purpose. And this nasal cavity is surrounded by the paranasal sinuses. In the above, it is situated the frontal sinus, and there you can see the sphenoid sinus. From this animated GIF, you all can see that how the air is entering into the nasal cavity and flows through this passage. The next part is the pharynx. Let's study the detailed description of the pharynx from our next slide. So this is the pharynx. The pharynx is a muscular membranous tube that functions as a part of the alimentary canal and it acts as an airway in the upper respiratory system. So this pharynx connects the nasal cavity with the mouth. This has three regions. The first part is the nasopharynx. This is the nasopharynx. The other part is the oropharynx. This is the oropharynx. And here is the laryngopharynx. So this pathway, the continues down into the esophagus and even eating the food and but as far as in the air goes. The next stop is the larynx or the voice box. The larynx is an organ of complex structure that serves as a dual function as an air canal to the lung and for the organ of the phonation. So, this larynx is comprised with the variety of the cartilages, including the epiglottis. so which stays open for airflow, but when swallowing, it will cover up by the laryngeal inlet. And also in the picture, you all can see that the superior corner of the thyroid cartilage here, and the thyroid cartilage lamina, and the cricoid cartilages. And also, there are some vocal folds and the vestibular folds. As we told earlier, this larynx is called as the voice box. It helps for the function of the phonation. So, uh, let's go towards the lower respiratory tract. The lower respiratory tract is consisting with the windpipe. It means the trachea, and with the bronchi, and also with the bronchioles and alveoli. Let's go towards the further details regarding the trachea. So here you all can see the trachea. The trachea is called as the windpipe. So it extends from the larynx to the upper border of the T5 vertebra, where it branches from the bronchi. So this trachea is supported by a series of the C-shaped cartilaginous rings that allows the trachea to change its shape and accommodate to pass the masses of the food particles through the esophagus. So from here you all can see how it's functioning. In this picture, at the end of the trachea, you all can see the bronchi. The bronchi has two parts. That's right bronchi and the left bronchi. These bronchi are the air passages in the lungs that begins in the end of the trachea. So, there are two bronchi origin from terminal part of the trachea, and it is divided into right and the left lungs. So, the terminal end of the bronchi, you all can see the respiratory bronchioles. So, respiratory bronchioles. So, at the end of these bronchioles, there is a bunch of grape-shaped structure. It's called as the alveoli. So, this alveoli is the structural and the functional unit of the respiratory system. So, it helps to facilitate the oxygen and the carbon dioxide exchange between the lungs and the blood stream. Next, we will study about the lungs. The lungs are cone-shaped organs that almost occupy in our thoracic cavity, and they are surrounded by the visceral pleura and with the parietal pleura, while in close contact with the ribs from the apex vessels and the nerve from the apex and down to the base. So, in this picture, you all can see that there is a notch. This is called as the cardiac notch. So, it helps to accommodate the heart. And there you can see the hilum. The hilum is the place where that blood vessels and the nerves enter and leaves from the lungs. The right lung has three lobes as upper, middle and the lower lobes, which are divided by the two fissures. And the left lung has two lobes and it is divided by a one fissure. So, from this slide, you all can see how the respiratory mechanism occurs. The respiratory mechanism is composed with the two mechanisms. The first thing is the inspiration and the other one is the expiration. So, according to this animation, you all can see that yellow color depicts out how the airs enter to your lungs, enter through your respiratory system. So it's called as inspiration, or else it's called as the inhalation. So this inspiration is a process of drawing of the air from the lungs into the lungs. So it occurs when the diaphragm is contracted and move downwards. And at the time, your intercostal muscles get contracted to expand the chest cavity. So here you all can see. Then this creates a lower pressure inside your lungs and with compared to your external atmosphere. So as a result of that, it goes to enter the air into your lungs, alveoli. So inspiration allows the oxygen-rich air to enter into your alveoli where it can then diffuse into the bloodstream. Next, we will go towards the expiration. So in this animation, you all can see that pink color is expirate from your respiratory system. So the expiration is also called as the exhalation, or else the process of breathing the air out from your lungs. So it occurs when the diaphragm and the intercostal muscles relaxes and causing the chest cavity to decrease its volume. So as a result of that, it increases the pressure inside your lungs, forcing the air to come out. So this expiration helps to remove the carbon dioxide, a waste product of cellular respiration, from the body. So from this animation also you can see about how the mechanism of respiration occur. Now let's discuss about how the breathing is regulated by our brain. So according to this diagram, it illustrates how the neural control of the breathing, emphasizing how the brain and the nerves and the sensors of the body regulates the respiration. So first, there are specialized sensors situated in the aorta of your heart to detect the carbon dioxide and the oxygen concentration in the blood. So, if it's increased the carbon dioxide concentration, it means if it's reduced the pH in the blood, it stimulates these sensors. So these sensors send the signals into your brain's breathing controlling centers. So in the brain, there are two parts responsible for the respiration. For your breathing. So that is the medulla and the pons. Then this medulla receives the signals about the carbon dioxide and the oxygen levels in your blood and determines the need to adjust for the breathing. So if the carbon dioxide concentration is high, the brain stimulates the respiration to expel the excess carbon dioxide. So the brain sends the nerve impulses down the spinal cord into your diaphragm and for the rib muscles, forcing them to contract. So this contraction expands the lungs, the drawing in the fresh air. It means inhalation. So in this manner, it causes the regulation of the respiration. So according to this picture, this image explains the respiratory center, which located in your medulla oblongata and in your medulla oblongata and in your pons. So here you all can see the dorsal respiratory group. It is called as the DRG. So it helps for the primary control of the inspiration. by sending the signals to the diaphragm and external intercostal muscles to contract. Here, you all can see the ventral respiratory group. Here, it is the ventral respiratory group. It's called as the VRG. It is also situated in the medulla oblongata. It's mainly responsible for forceful expiration and can assist in the inspiration when it's necessary. So it activates your internal intercostal muscles and abdominal muscles during the active breathing. There is the pneumotaxic center. It's also called as the pontine respiratory group. It's located in your pons. So it modulates the rhythm of your breathing by inhibiting the DRG's function. Inhibiting the DRG's function by preventing overinflation of the lungs. So it regulates the breathing rate and it's helped for the shortening of the inspiration. And there's another center which is situated in the pons, so it is called as the aneustic center. It's also called as the pons. So it helps for the stimulation of the prolonged inspiration. In this slide, this table explains how the different neuronal centers in the medulla oblongata and the pons regulate the breathing by controlling the respiration rate, depth, and response to stimuli. So, the DRG means the dorsal respiratory group, which is situated in the medulla. So, this function of the DRG, the function of the DRG here in the orange color, it shows the dorsal respiratory group. Its function is it's responsible for the normal rhythmic breathing and it drives the diaphragm and external intercostal muscles for the inspiration. The other one is the VRG or the ventral respiratory group. It's in the red color. So it's in the medulla. It helps to manage both expiration and the inspiration when there is an increased demand for breathing and mainly involved in the forceful breathing, activating the muscles for deeper breathing. Then the other one is the pneumotaxic center. It is situated in the pons. Here it's in the greenish color. So it helps in the controlling of the breathing rate and depth by inhibiting the DRG's activity, thereby shortening of the inspiration. Its role is to prevent the overinflation of the lungs and regulates the normal breathing. Then the final one is the blue color aneustic area. It helps in the prolongs of DRG's activity and it leads in the deeper and slower breathing. So its role is to work against the pneumotaxic center to maintain the controlled breathing when needed. Then the sensory output. Sensory output is output's function is the breathing is monitored and it adjusted by the baroreceptors, chemoreceptors, irritant and stretch receptors. Then the reflex and the responses help for the adjustment in breathing based on the environmental clues. Now let's go for the function of the respiratory system. There are numerous functions occur in the respiratory system. The first one is the gaseous exchange. So the primary function is to supply the oxygen to the blood and remove carbon dioxide through the lungs. The second one is the oxygen transport. The respiratory system ensures oxygen is delivered to the body cells for energy production. The other one is the carbon dioxide removal. It means it expels the carbon dioxide away as product of metabolism and preventing the toxic build up. The other one is the regulation of the blood pH. So by controlling the carbon dioxide levels, the respiratory system helps maintain in the acid-base balance in the body. The fifth one is the sound production or the phonation. The larynx is the voice box is responsible for the enabling of the speech and the vocalization. The sixth one is the protection from the pathogens. The mucus and the cilia in the respiratory tract helps to trap the dust, microbes and the other harmful particles to prevent the infections. Then the temperature and moisture control. The nasal passage warm and humidify the incoming air and protect the lung tissues. The final one is the sense of the smell. The olfactory receptors in the nasal cavity help to detect the odors. Now let's go for some MCQs regarding the human respiratory system. The first question is, where does the gaseous exchange primarily occurs in the respiratory system? A. Bronchi, B. Alveoli, C. Trachea, D. Bronchioles. The correct answer is B. Alveoli. The second one is the gas exchange the second one is, what is the primary function of the respiratory system? A. Digestion, B. Circulation, C. Oxygenation, D. Temperature regulation. The correct answer is the oxygenation. The main function of the respiratory system is to facilitate the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide for cellular respiration. The third question is, what is the purpose of surfactant in the alveoli? A. For gaseous exchange, B. Preventing the collapse, C. Filtration, D. For mucus production. The correct answer is B. Preventing the collapse. The surfactant reduces the surface tension in the alveoli, preventing them from collapsing during inhalation. The fourth question is, which part of the brain controls the rate and depth of breathing? First one is cerebrum. Second one is medulla oblongata. Then cerebellum and hypothalamus. The correct one is medulla oblongata. The medulla oblongata is responsible for regulating involuntary function, including breathing. What is the role of the intercostal muscle during the inhalation? A. Contracting to relax the diaphragm. B. Relaxing to allow the diaphragm to control. C. Expanding the thoracic cavity. D. Decreasing the lung volume. The correct answer is the intercostal muscle contract the lifting the rib cage and expanding the thoracic cavity during inhalation.